Welcome to another edition of the Let's Be Frank show. As you know, we try and do these shows so that we can keep the public informed as to what's going on. My most recent show, I had the Mayor, Anthony Candelora, on, and my guest this evening is Superintendent of Schools, Scott Schoonmaker. Welcome aboard.
Thank you, Frank.
As everyone knows, most of you know, the budgets are coming up, and they're hard at work on the budgets. First, I want to ask you, before I start the budgets,
Let's lead into that. Let's give me.
How did you guys got your winter vacation, but it wasn't on the days that you had originally scheduled?
That was masterful planning on my behalf. We knew that we would have multiple snow days, so the students were able to get 6 days off in a row, including President's Day, and we made up the other 3 days. So in essence, we did get our February break. But now we're going to June 23rd, so it's good. The payback is tough on the other end, believe me.
But just real quick, because I don't think people realize this. You know, you hear in the community, you see on Facebook, oh, another day off. How many people? When do you're on the phone like at 4 in the morning?
We usually start at 4 o'clock, and I have to recognize Fran Marola. He's the first phone contact. He's out on the street in his truck, and he tells me the conditions around town, specifically the northern end up at Northford, up by the Durham line. And that's where we really have our greatest concerns, because they tend to get the greatest amount of snow. So we start with the phone calls there and with Bill Chody, and then I start contacting neighboring towns, their superintendents. I talk to the police department, and usually by 5:15, we've made a decision as to whether we're going to close, delay, or have employees come in or not. So it's quite a process, and believe me, at 4 o'clock in the morning, you're looking out the window and it's dark, and you're relying on a weather forecast and radar, which can tend to go different ways, as you know. I really, it's a part of the job I wish I could pass off to someone.
That's got to be for a, and plus you can't really tell by the weathermen, because they're all over the place. I listened to 2 weather reports the other day, Tuesday, when it snowed, and they were completely the opposite.
Right.
One I listen to in my car, then when I get to my work, it's a different station. But anyway.
No, and the media now, it's become so sensationalized with how involved they get, and they report days before, and it's frantic by the time you get to 24 hours before, and the forecasters are saying, oh, superintendents, this is going to be a tough one. You might want to think about it, so they add to the already pressure.
Thanks for your help.
Yeah.
But anyway, you usually talk about weather when you have nothing else to talk about, but we have a lot to talk about, so we'll get off the weather. But I do think that's a difficult thing, that we don't realize all the people involved in making that decision. Budget. Everybody's always talking about the budget. Where are we on the budget process?
Well, the timing is perfect. I'm actually presenting. I have presented our budget. We've had budget workshops over the last several weeks, and we solidified a number for the 14-15 school year at 4.06 coming in, and the board will vote this evening as whether to accept it or to reject it and give another number moving forward.
Board of Ed.
The Board of Ed.
Going to vote.
Correct. If you look at the breakdown of the 4.06, 1.5 is personnel costs due to contracts, certified staff, all employees moving forward. The greatest increase this year is the medical expenses. We had a 15% increase over last year, and that accounts for 1.6% of that 4.06. So if you look at just our personnel moving forward and our health insurance medical moving forward, that's over 3.1% of the total budget. So there's no new programs, there's no new initiatives in this. There's some special ed costs that are included, and some of the heating costs moving forward with fuel purchasing, and really that's basically the budget in a nutshell. Unfortunately, as you know, on tough lean times, and we don't know year to year what the medical expenses are going to be, what the health insurance is going to be. We had a couple of good years, and this next year it's not so good.
Now the entire budget, the budget starts in September.
Correct.
And it goes through
the end of June.
When does it get finalized and approved?
Well, we'll through March and April, and then it'll go to the town for vote. The council will act on it over the next several weeks when we present to them. Having been through this now 5 times in North Branford, I know the challenges that lie ahead, and my message is that we've worked hard to come up with a budget that's responsible, and we really, as you know, over the last several years have been cut significantly, and this is a budget that if we do have significant cuts, it's going to, personnel is the only direction that we can go, and we're going to have to lay teachers off.
Yeah, because I mean, I don't have kids in the school anymore. I don't know if that's good or bad. It means I'm getting older, but it just seems that the last 4 or 5 years, there's never, and I know things are tight, but we don't. It's always zero budget, right. Zero budget. Well, I can't run my house on zero budget increase if I want things to happen in my house.
Correct.
How are we managing to run a school system and improve the systems we have and improve the programs we have?
Right.
And I don't know the answer, but we
it's
constantly say zero budget.
There's no question that we're at the tipping point, and we've been fortunate in the past with retirements, and we had the ARA money, the jobs bill money from the federal government, but that only salvaged a year, and you dug a hole and you had to recoup that money the next year. So any personnel that were gained or retained because of that federal money, you had to repay that next year. So we're at a point now where we've moved and decreased our certified personnel over the last 4 or 5 years by not replacing, and we actually laid 3 people off last year, certified teachers, and we're at that point now where there's nowhere else to go. And it's going to impact programs, it's going to impact class sizes at the elementary level, and you have to understand, the greatest impact is the classroom teacher on the successes of the school, and the only way to recoup the amount of money that we're talking about is through certified staff. A paraprofessional who works at an hourly rate with no benefits that we need in the classrooms, you'd have to lay off 7 to equate to 1 teacher.
Right.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's and I jump all around on these interviews because
that's okay.
My mind isn't as coordinated as most. But we're looking at you mentioned teachers now, and I don't go to many of the meetings because I have a problem being a newspaper and also being a town guy. Mm-hmm. The meetings upset me. So it's like I don't go because I can't go as a newspaper reporter.
Some of them upset me as well. I know how you feel.
I go as a citizen, and I'm like, oh, no, I can't. I'm supposed to report this. But I saw a brief part of the town council meeting that was Tuesday night. For those of you who don't know, we're taping this show on a Thursday. You see it at different days, but so if I'm talking about different days, that's what I'm talking about. And you mentioned teachers. Now, the town council voted against accepting the teacher contract. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And now that's done with the you explain it, because again, I think I like to think I know everything, but I don't know that much of anything.
We work on behalf of the Board of Education, negotiating with our teachers union. We have legal counsel that works alongside us as we go through. We also had the mayor as part of our negotiations committee who worked through the entire process with us, and that started several weeks ago. And the Friday before Christmas, we solidified a contract with the teachers union at 2:30 on a Saturday morning after 10 and a half hours of negotiations that we felt was fair and equitable on both sides, by the teachers union and on behalf of the Board of Education.
Right.
And it was agreed upon.
And so now when you went into the meeting, were you surprised? Because I was surprised. I was hearing from different people. It's a cut and dry thing. The contract's been...
I guess to say I was surprised is an understatement. I met with the council with Don Winicki. We had a number of our board members there 2 weeks ago, and it was a question and answer session. We provided information for them and budget book, 2 budget books for the mayor and the liaison to the council, and gave them significant amounts of information in order to ask questions of us. And after we presented to them, there were no questions at all. I then received 6 questions, which I responded to, and it got there, and it seemed to be lost in the Pony Express, or however, wherever it ended up, and some budget books that were delivered, unfortunately, weren't delivered in a timely fashion to the council. So it was, to say unfortunate, but very disappointing. Disappointing in how it was handled on the council's end. And I think if you watch the entire meeting, you'll understand what I'm saying. I'm trying to be very guarded in what I say, but you know, we are professionals. The council volunteers their time, as does the Board of Ed, and they put a great deal of time and effort into putting forward a teacher's contract that they felt represented the best interest of the town, keeping our teachers here. And if you look at the demographics and how our teachers are paid, we're paid on average in the state of Connecticut. You know, we're paid a fair wage, and we were asking for a fair increase.
Okay. Now, I don't have it, obviously, anybody from the town council here, but what was the, I mean, if we're paid similar to other towns around us, what was the, first of all, what was their not voting for it?
According to the recording, which I observed today, they felt they didn't receive requested information, and because they didn't receive requested information, we reported in percentiles. They wanted an actual dollar figure. Now, I don't think that's a reason to not accept a contract. If you do the simple math, you could figure that out. I think, unfortunately, it was misrepresented, and information that they had requested was delivered on 2 separate occasions, and that's something that they're going to have to work through on their end. We fulfilled our obligation. We do it in a timely fashion. We always back our information up, you know, with CCs on emails and things. So, you know, that's something that they're going to have to work through.
So I don't have, again, I don't have council people here, so I don't know what their thinking is. But what happens? Because I've been here 25 years, I guess, in town. What happens now if the council, they have until, my understanding is they have until the 27th to accept or...
There's a couple of schools of thoughts here, and it's going to come down to legal advisement on how it's handled. We signaled the Connecticut Board of Education, letting them know that this contract was rejected and we are going to arbitration, and that's a strict timeline, and it starts a process of events that have to happen both on the town council side and the Board of Education side to satisfy the requirements per state statute. So we're already gathering evidence for the town council through the town council, so that when we go into arbitration and renegotiate this contract with the teachers, a mediator will able to render a decision based on the data they gather.
So arbitration does happen in you know, different times and stuff.
It does, but it's usually when the Board of Education cannot come to an agreement with the bargaining unit.
With the union.
With the union. It very rarely, and it hasn't happened in North Branford, to the recollection of many, where it was passed on, accepted by the board and the union, but then rejected at the council level. That is not common at all.
So now it goes to arbitration. Does that take? Is that a long process?
It's actually a tight process per state statute. It's a costly process, which the Board of Ed has to bear the burden of financing, and we end up paying for counsel on our behalf for the mediator, for a third-party person, and for our legal counsel as well. So it's thousands of dollars, which accrue dependent upon the length of the process.
Right. So that's not a good thing.
It's disappointing, and you know, it's unfortunate because you know, that negotiating committee, including the mayor who was on that committee, worked diligently, and we felt good about our finished product based upon data that we had from our attorney. And I think the disappointing part was 2 weeks ago when we did present to the council, John Jesmond, who is a legal expert in labor contract and negotiations, and if you go back and watch the show, strongly encouraged the council to accept this contract. He said there was nothing extraordinary or out of the ordinary about what they are asking for. It lines up with other towns, and there were a number of towns that he had to compare to that supported the work that we had done with the union. Right. And they didn't vote on it that evening. They decided to wait 2 weeks. And again, if you watched the meeting last night, John Jesmond walked them through the process and said, here's what if these things happen, and he wasn't able to gain their support.
Well, hopefully that'll be taken care of. But I'm gonna get back a little bit to the zero thing, because I do get around the high school and stuff, and who's responsible for the physical buildings? Is that the council, or is that your budget? I mean, I know the high school, there's water coming in, and
right.
And I know we were supposed to get a new high school 10 however many years ago, right. And that's still not there. And I'm alarmed, being a town person, that I see around us everybody's
right.
building new high schools, and,
right.
and we don't seem to be able to.
Without question.
Why are we different than everybody
right.
else?
The town made a decision to build a intermediate school before building their high school, and that predates my.
Which we needed too.
We absolutely,
yeah.
That building was a mess. There's no question about it, and parts of that building project that you can't go back and change. In hindsight, could have been done a little differently. That being said, that pushed that high school project out several years, and again, it's the oldest high school in the surrounding area that hasn't had a major renovation. When you look at towns that border us, obviously Guilford's getting a new high school, North Haven has a new high school, East Haven, new high school.
Madison is recent, right?
Madison is within the last 5
yeah.
years, had a new high school put up. Morgan High School is being built right now, so. Coggins has done a number of renovations in their system, Wallingford. So it's long overdue. It's like you mentioned the house before, and the zero survival. If you have a kitchen that's 35, 40 years old, it's time for repairs. This is a high school that's 50 plus years old with 700 kids moving about in it daily. And windows are gone, the roof needs to be and is going to be replaced, tile and everything is outdated. And that really carries off that sense of, caring about us as students, as staff in our school system. It goes a long way, and it's indicative of how we feel about education.
Mm. Yeah, it's like you say, it scares me with. I mean, they do it with all the budgets. It's not just the Board of Ed. They say 0, 0, 0, 0. We got a fire department that's falling apart. We've got
the police station needs work. Right.
Sooner or later, we got to come up with a plan that says this is for the next 10 years. This is how we're going to fix some of the. But that's not your issue.
Right.
We'll get to you. New programs. I know you instituted some new programs, implemented full day kindergarten.
Full day kindergarten.
How's that work?
We're in our second year, and the timing was perfect for that with Common Core coming in, the new federal mandate, and what we're dealing with now in preparation for that, and the rollout that we're in the middle of right now. But it really gave our youngsters the gift of time. Those students who, in a partial day program or a half day program, didn't have the contact time with the teacher to get them to a point where they were ready for first grade and to start the curriculum in the Common Core. So we've gained so much in 2 years, and the first grade teachers are amazed at what our kindergartners have been able to do over the last 2 years, and that will pay huge dividends, as we roll through time. And as you look at the paper, many towns are trying to get to full-day kindergarten. They're struggling, obviously, because of the financial constraints and the costs of adding staff and space to do that. And so that's been a great addition to our school system, one we're very proud of.
Yeah, I never religiously read the paper, but I have a part-time job in the morning now that allows me to. It forces me to read the paper so I can stay awake. And I read just this past week there were 2 or 3 articles about different towns, and I don't remember the towns, who were saying it's
Guilford was one,
it's
and
imperative
that we have to
that
have
they go to full-day kindergarten.
Right.
And
You're putting yourself really at a disadvantage with Common Core and the expectations of the new assessment system and the rigor of what children will be expected to do over the next several years with this new national curriculum and the reform efforts that are going on. So it's a very interesting time in public education, and it's long overdue, unfortunately, the way that it was implemented and the rate of how it was implemented. As you can see, the governor is starting to back off on it, as is the Commissioner of Education.
Right.
So,
and you mentioned, I read something on that too, and I tried to read it, but I didn't catch it. Common Core, that seems to be, educators are talking about that all over the place. What is it?
Well, I don't think we have enough.
He backed off that too.
Yeah, he did. I don't think we have enough time in this
Just
segment. But just you're looking at a curriculum that is based on standards that will be held accountable by all cities, states, and towns in this country. It's a national reform effort, and it's like taking a 5th grade curriculum and dropping it down to the 3rd grade, and doing it all at once, and asking the students to be able to have the vocabulary, the comprehension, the decoding skills, whether it's the reading and writing or if it's the mathematics. And it's overwhelming. It really is. I think it should have been rolled over a 5-year plan, starting with 3rd grade and then adding a grade each year over 5 years, because we have a new teacher evaluation system that is tied to the Common Core and the assessment of the Common Core, which is the Smarter Balanced Assessment. And we're trying to integrate new technology and get up to speed with that, letting teachers know that they're going to be evaluated on student outcomes. And we all know that students come with different life situations, and it's not always perfect and advantageous for the student, but they're going to be held accountable based upon the assessment results of those students in their class. So there's many challenges that lie ahead. I'm proud to say that North Branford is proactive in preparation, and we've been working on this over the last 3 years and have been diligent to get the technology up to speed, to get our teachers trained, to be able to implement the resources needed to do this. And we're in good shape right now.
Okay, and just we've got a few minutes left. Maybe touch on teacher evaluations, on how we're doing with that now. Yeah,
well, we've been accepted by the state with our evaluation plan for both teachers and administrators, and we were given the ability to be a little flexible with the SEED plan in the state of Connecticut. So what we did was develop a hybrid system where we're evaluating, in a nutshell, our teachers 3 times during the year, with a formal evaluation where there's a pre and post meeting, and there's percentiles or percentages of the evaluation that involved student input, assessment, parent input, and then direct observation by the administrator. So it's a new way, it's a new lens of looking at evaluation, and it really it causes anxiety. Anytime there's change, teachers are the ones that inherit. A lot of times it comes from the top down, and teachers are the ones carrying the bigger bag in and out of the classroom every day. And our class sizes, as you know, when you get into a situation when you have 24, 25, 26 children, that just makes the situation more difficult.
Yeah. Well, we got 2 minutes left. Do you have anything to add? Anything that we didn't
I want to
cover?
thank the Tutucket Times. I look forward to it every 2 weeks when you post, and I appreciate the energy and effort of recognizing our students, our faculty members, the programs that are happening in town. A lot of times we lose sight of the good, and whether it's a student making the dean's list, or one of our middle schoolers getting an award for Taekwondo, or any of the special interest stories that you do, I'm hoping that the people in the town appreciate that, and appreciate the efforts of a school system that really values their children and has for many, many years. And you know, we lose sight of that, and we lose sight of the most important piece here, and that's each child and the opportunities that lie ahead for them in our schools. And through education, it affords them those opportunities. So thank you for continuing to spotlight and highlight our young students.
Well, thank you. It's funny you mentioned that, because that's how I was going to close, with the fact that, you know, obviously in your position you take a lot of abuse, you take some compliments once in a while as well. But I think that in the 5 or 6 years you've been here, my experience is that whether I've agreed with you or not, I've always agreed that when you've made decisions, it was always with the kids' best interest at heart, and it wasn't political reasons or anything else. And I've always appreciated it when I had kids in the school, and even now that I'm an old man, and maybe in 5 years I'll have a grandson in the school, but it's nice to know that those decisions are being made. You know, not that anybody else doesn't do that, but you've always made, any time I've been associated with you, it's been, even if it was going to give you a lot of grief, it was for the betterment of the kids, and that's what the school system's all about. So
thank you.
I thank you for coming tonight, and
my pleasure.
I thank you all for watching, and keep watching. We've got some shows coming up. We're going to try and do the shows on a more regular basis if I can get some guests. And again, I thank you for watching. Have a good evening, and until the next show, I also thank our director, Alex Puchowski, and his assistant, Ryan Savio. And I think that's the first time I got both names right in the past 3 months since they've been working together. So thanks again, and we'll see you next time.